Hi, I'm Jaimine. I'm back. In today's agenda, I'm going to deconstruct the propaganda and to find out that how many people are aware about the leftist thinkers and the libertarians. And I want to let you know that how far the government has successfully, indoctrinated our own people. So let's figure it out in today's session. Do you know anyone of this?
Oh yeah, I know this guy. He's a MN boy.
Experience. कौन है?
Karl Marx.
अच्छा.
Lenin.
ओके.
Mao.
ठीक है. आप लोग इनमें से किसको जानते हो?
नहीं. वो बोला जापान में गए.
ये जापान का है. और आप कभी देखा है इनको? कभी पोस्टर? आप यूनियन वाले होंगे तो इनको तो जानते होंगे. मार्क्स वाले हैं, कम्युनिस्ट है. कभी इनका पोस्टर? भाई इनमें से किसको जानते हैं?
नहीं जानता.
अरे बता ना, किसको तो जानता रहेगा. अरे अपने आप को तो जानता रहेगा ना.
नहीं जानता मैं.
बच्चों इनमें से तुम किसको जानते हो? Anyone? Please. फटाफट. It's not your girlfriend's boyfriend's photo. Come on. Anyone? Who? What?
Mao's.
This is Mao.
Yeah.
So how do you know Mao?
Communism.
Like what basically is that?
Start communism in China.
Acha. Anything else you want to speak? Do you think it's a good idea?
I guess.
How it is a good idea?
So I didn't get you, sorry. But
Like how it is a good idea? How do you know it's a good idea?
good idea.
Yeah. Do you believe that communism is a good idea, right?
No, I just said,
Acha, that's it. You know only Mao?
Yeah.
Anyone else, guys? Anyone here? Anything more about Mao?
Yeah, he started his party, I guess, Communist Party in China.
Okay.
Just like that.
That's it. अरे मुझे बताओ इनमें सब किसको है? अच्छा, कहाँ पे पढ़ा? अच्छा, और क्या जानता हो इनके बारे में? अच्छा, और इनमें से और कोई जानता हो? कोई पसंद है इनमें से? Thank you for this, but इनमें से फिर भी आप कभी सुने हो इनके बारे में? ओके, थैंक्स. अब बता तू इसमें से किनको क्या जानता है?
ये कार्ल मार्क्स है ना.
अच्छा,
और ये लेनिन है.
अच्छा, और इनको
ये कौन है?
ये जानता ही नहीं तू?
नहीं.
इनके बारे में कभी सुना ही नहीं?
नहीं.
टेक्स्ट बुक्स के में?
टेक्स्ट बुक्स में इनको देखा है. और ये भी लग रहा है. ये
कौन है ये?
ये डिक्टेटर है ना ये.
हाँ, कहाँ के मतलब?
एशियन है.
अच्छा, एशियन है. गर्लफ्रेंड ने बता दी क्या कौन किधर गया? इनके बारे में बताना. हाँ? इनके बारे में बताना. किसके बारे में कभी सुना है तूने कुछ?
नहीं, पढ़ा है लेकिन इतना जानता तो नहीं हूँ मैं.
किसके बारे में पढ़ा है?
ये इसके बारे में.
कौन है ये?
हिस्ट्री में पढ़ा था लेकिन अभी नाम याद नहीं है मुझे.
क्या याद है? सलमान खान की पहली गर्लफ्रेंड?
नहीं.
फिर तो जानती हो.
Ayn Rand something.
अच्छा. Tell me more about her.
इनकी नॉवल पढ़ी थी मैंने, एंथम करके.
Okay. So what she clamors for, like what she believes in?
I think limited government,
अच्छा.
like कम इंटरवेंशन होना चाहिए.
Great, I mean. Yeah, cool. Then go ahead.
कम इंटरवेंशन होना चाहिए पब्लिक की लाइफ में, और पब्लिक के पास ज़्यादा पावर होना चाहिए. डिसीजन मेकिंग पावर ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए.
Finally, I got a sane person to talk with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I've been interacting, and people say they don't know more about these thinkers, the libertarians. They know more about communists. And communism is such a dangerous ideology that expands the size of the government, the power of the government, and the cost of individual liberty. Finally, you are the only person who is saying it. Thank God, man. तुमको तो यार दादू की चुप्पी देना चाहिए इनको भाई. हाय बोलो उधर.
My fellow sheep, election season is upon us. Are you one of the 12% of Americans who still approves of our government? Then we need your help to force the other 88% into compliance. Our democracy depends on it. We're an organization called Citizens Against Too Much Unfettered Freedom, or CATMUF. CATMUF is a bipartisan flock of sheep whose goal is expanding government until nothing else remains. Because the government is here to help you. How can you help CATMUF help you? By only voting for candidates dedicated to expanding government. It's easy. You don't need to study the issues. No matter what a politician says when running for office, they're all dedicated to expanding government. And make sure you tell all your friends and family to vote for more government. Here at CATMUF, we don't care if you vote Democrat or Republican, as long as you vote for candidates committed to growing our federal family. CATMUF, because folks just aren't smart enough to handle real freedom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network on theconsciousresistance.com and the SOLpodcast.org. So today I'm delighted to have Jaimine Vaishnav, who comes in from Mumbai, India. It's not an easy recording because it's like 5:30 in the morning over there. So please excuse him. He's doing a lot for this. Being on here, I'm very grateful. He's an individualist libertarian and an anarcho-capitalist. He's also a university professor where he teaches journalism, sociology, international business, and economics, among other things. And you can find him on Facebook, Jaimine Vaishnav on Facebook, and then his YouTube channel is called Jaimine Triggered. We'll put the link in the comment in the description below. And you can find him on Twitter at Meritocratic. And then also he contributes to a website called actualanarchy.com. So we're going to talk about his path to voluntarism and free markets, who influenced him, books that influenced him, and then some of his videos from his YouTube channel. He did a great one about taxation and theft. I think he was doing graffiti on some government buildings, which is pretty fun to watch. And he also did a great one, Man in the Street, video, which is like a social experiment where he was determining how much people in his part of the world understand, what communism is, what socialism is, and of course what free market capitalism is, and it was very illuminating video, to say the least. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. So Jaimine, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thank you for the brief introduction. So good evening to you, and it's morning here.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm sure that's something that you gotta deal with a lot, right? A lot of people have their podcasts. I guess a lot of podcasters in this sphere are from the United States, right? So something you gotta deal with. So please get into your your path to how you came to this philosophy of voluntarism and free markets.
Oh, well, basically it's like I used to be a Marxist, and I was kind of a socialist. So I think Orkut was quite popular 10 years back, and there were many communities. So I just got introduced to this word called anarchism. So I just, curiosity is the best teacher. So I just happened to Google this word called anarchism. And before, before 10 years, I never was introduced to anarchism because, it's considered as a dirty word, and we don't have, even at our primary school level, that we are taught what exactly is freedom or anarchism. So I think internet has played a huge role in shaping my way of thinking, in the way I learn, and the way I've become autodidact. So I believe that, Wikipedia or other websites, I was not quite acquainted with all these anarchist websites that are so much in numbers today that we see in comparison to the last 10 years. And following Facebook discussions, followed thereafter from Orkut, because Orkut failed in the market because of lack of innovation, that we had Facebook. So on Facebook, I saw many anarchist libertarian communities. So I was a slow learner, and I was trying to understand, a very different ideology in this setup, because most of the people are obsessed either with democracy, either with dictatorship. So anarchism is something that goes above both the ideologies. It does not fall in any of the spectrum, because anarchism is about freedom, and freedom cannot be limited as long as it is responsible. So two friends, Vinith and Arvind, on Facebook, they're also my Facebook friends, have played a huge role in shaping my views and all. Both of them continue to be libertarians, and I have just shifted from being a libertarian to anarchism. I used to support small government, but I think small government is also a contradiction when it comes to action or delivery of services. So that has been my journey. And then, I entered the profession of teaching in 2012. So I got a computer on my desk. So I used to use it productively. So I started visiting Mises.org, Bastille site, and I started watching some YouTube channels and all. So yeah, so since there is too much of free literature available on internet on anarchism and liberty, so I started reading books. I got a Kindle. I used to develop regular habits on reading all these ideologies, and then I started, talking about it in my classes. And it is really sickening. It is really shocking that we do not teach the other side of the coin. We are quite obsessed with Keynesian theories. We are quite obsessed with socialism. We are quite obsessed with Marx. I mean, Marx is more popular than even God today, unfortunately. Yeah.
Right.
So he's a kind of a saint that has become so popular for all the wrong reasons, though people are not able to logically decipher it. So it was a gradual shift. It took me like minimum 5 to 8 years from coming from left side to the right side and moving beyond the right. So I think that has been my journey of learning about anarchism. And today I have like good or say sufficient knowledge to understand anarchism and function smoothly in this way.
Yeah, I see so often that so many instances of proof showing me that the internet is such a powerful tool to spread information, and has done such wonderful things. Because before, right, you had let's say, like, I always compare the appearance of the internet to the Gutenberg Press in the 15th century, when literature was like it was confined to just the religious clergy who understood how to read the Bible like in Latin, and everyone else just had to rely on them to interpret the Bible. And then all of a sudden the Gutenberg Press comes out, and not only can it be mass produced, but it can be translated into the various languages, the vernacular, the local languages. And all of a sudden, there's an explosion in information, and people are exposed to this, and they can read the Bible directly, and how that's such a wonderful thing. And to me, the same thing, it's analogous to the internet, and in that it provides people with easy access to information, and that can only be a good thing, like what you were talking about, all these free websites, Mises.org, YouTube, Wikipedia, and yeah. So to me, it's just like, it's a wonderful thing, and it's phasing out. Talking about university, I think universities and colleges are, for the most part, defunct institutions, like on their way out. It's like when so many things, when so many skills and so much knowledge can be acquired online for free when you know the right places to go. Like why would people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to an institution? It just doesn't make sense anymore. It's like a dinosaur.
Basically, people just pursue education as a sign of formality. I mean, there is no knowledge, there is only information. So due to this, we are not able to develop thinkers. So when I look at students, I just don't look at them as a skilled robots. I have a very different perspectives towards my students, and the education play a huge role. And it's just kind of a pressure that builds on your cognition, it builds on your personality, that automatically you start learning, and learning has to be continuous and evolving. It cannot be just like communist, where you're just stuck at a particular school of thought. I think a lot can be done through education as long as it is peaceful.
Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned to me was that you consider yourself an autodidact, and I think a lot of people who come to voluntarism and free markets and understand it, you have to be an autodidact. You have to be thirsty and hungry for this knowledge, and you have to just want to consume as much as possible, because there's so much information out there to consume, and it's so it's confusing, especially for people like, you said you came from the left, right? It's going to be very confusing. Like, imagine somebody coming, you're on the left and somebody come to you and try to convince you of all this stuff. You're going to reject it immediately. But if you pursue it yourself and you, out of curiosity for discovering, the truth, discovering what is objective and what is what is economics, why do people act the way they do, it's an amazing thing when people have that curiosity to educate themselves, and I think that's the reason I have my channel, my podcast, right, trying to educate people and contribute to the wealth of knowledge that's already in existence, and so yeah, that's my goal.
And people generally have this popular belief that anything that is mainstream is always moral, is always logical, but that is not always the case.
Right.
Anything that is mainstream could be legal, but you cannot mix morality with legality.
Right.
So anything that is not mainstream, that is the science of human action. I think that is more about economics. I think that is the real economics.
Yeah, definitely. So please, please get into, let's see, your video. So you talked, well, actually, before we get into your video, let me just ask you what books have you read that really influenced you, and, authors, and what podcasts or YouTube channels really influenced you along the way?
So I think Wikipedia, and some other blogging websites, I'm not able to remember the domain. They have helped me a lot during the primary stage when I was introduced to libertarianism or even economics. So I think I would credit them, and then followed after that Mises Institute, fe.org, even books, novels by Ayn Rand, though I don't agree with her, but her books have also played a huge role. George Orwell's 1984 Animal Farm, I think it is completely relevant in today's time. So, and even I suggest these books to my students because, I don't want them to experience the same dilemma that I faced it. So I think it's kind of a social work, unnoticed social work, which I am doing in academia. So Human Action, and Introduction to Economic Reasoning, Jonathan Gullible by Ken Schooland. I think these books have played a huge role in looking at the way I used to look at economics.
You said you read Human Action by Mises?
Yeah.
Wow, the huge book.
Yeah, it's like I would say it's a Bible of economics. I mean, it needs to be there. I mean, you can't ignore reading Human Action.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to read the general theory of money, credit, and all. I mean, John Maynard Keynes is completely irrelevant. I mean, the biggest tragedy of our civilization is its existence. So I think, Human Action would make more sense.
Yeah.
I think we should, give a due publicity to Human Action. Podcast, I think Stephen Clyde, Amit Verma's podcast. I mean, he's also a libertarian based in Mumbai. Just 2 days back, he wrote on taxation as theft on a mainstream newspaper called Times of India. So, I think for the first time, it was introduced, but I'm quite unaware of the outcome, like how the people reaction and all. So I think your podcast, I mean, you're doing awesome work. I mean, peaceful anarchism is really, I mean, it's completely in sync. Anarchism is peaceful and peace is anarchism, and the liberty is something that is the soul of both the concepts. Right. So, I really enjoy listening to your podcast.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. When I first made this, when I first made my website, I remember talking to my wife, I wanted to have anarchism in the name, but my wife was uncomfortable because, it sounds like a very, contentious and inflammatory word. And so I'm like, all right, so let's put the word peaceful there so that clear up any confusion that people might have if they get scared by the word anarchism. So yeah, I think that kind of helps in that, because if we just say we're anarchists, then of course they're immediately going to believe that we just want to bomb people and, and cause disorder and chaos. But, so we really have to advocate that. No, of course not. I mean, it's kind of funny that people who know me think that, because I'm a homeschooling father. I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter, right? And so if I told them I'm an anarchist and they think that I want to cause disorder, I'm like, what do you mean I want to cause disorder? I have 2 little kids. What kind of disorder would I want to cause? It's ridiculous. So my goal, my objective is
Yeah.
education. Is education providing people with information to improve their lives, to better understand the world. And one of the best ways I describe what I do is I try to spread philosophy, morality, and economics. To me,
Awesome.
those are the basic things. And then once you understand those, then then voluntarism and anarchism and capitalism, they I think they just come naturally, right? So so that's kind of me. And of course, when I first introduced myself to people, I don't call myself an anarchist, but I just I talk to them and I kind of help them establish that I'm a decent, moral, kind-hearted, compassionate human being, and that's it. And then, oh, by the way, I'm an anarchist. After they know me, they're like, oh, you're an anarchist? What?
Yeah, actually, the word anarchism has been widely abused. I mean, it is being used as a wrong connotation. It is used as a negative feature. But, I mean, that's not the way. I mean, anarchism truly believes in non-aggression principle. It doesn't believe in aggressive violence. But unfortunately, the mainstream public sphere has played a huge role, or you can say a destructive role, in defaming the word anarchism. But when it comes to educating people, I just cannot start directly, I'm an anarchist, because people develop the perspectives and outlook, a kind of schema.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to indirectly talk about and make them question about tax, make them question about their freedom, and make them question about their relationship with the government with reference to accountability. So, people get easily, get listening to you. So that makes sense. That could be a beautiful strategy in education to start with.
Yeah. So let me ask you, when you meet someone new for the first time and you want to introduce them to these topics, how do you go about doing that?
I use Socratic method in my teaching. So, that makes sense. That creates a culture of participation. And I think anarchism is about having conversations.
Yeah.
And I think conversations are quite important in smoothing, our ideological introduction. So I never start directly saying that let's not have a government.
Right.
I give them a case study. Okay, now you are policy in charge. Now you have government having so many powers. The government in India has banned beef. The government is not in the mood to legalize homosexuality. So don't you think it is government's business to tell us what we should do, what we should eat, what we should not drink? I don't think it's government business. And most of today's youngsters believe, in a kind of freedom, but they exactly don't know in which direction should they be, going ahead. So I think this is where the leftists have, almost hijacked their mind, or like somewhere, okay, let's have a freedom, but then we have a equality. We need equality. We need to be socially responsible person. So I say, no, you can be socially responsible only when you're individually responsible. So with individual responsibility, you can do many other magical things and greater things in a society. So, this becomes a primary session in case study. Then I give them, okay, there are so many tax slabs, there are so many tax rates. So is it morally good that, the government collects taxes at gunpoint? Is it morally good that, we should not progress more, so that when we progress more, we pay more taxes? So don't you think it is wrong? I mean, progress is a sign of prosperity, and prosperity is the feature of our civilization.
Right.
So, this is where they start thinking, so it takes time. It takes minimum 3-4 weeks for them to understand the whole equation. And thereafter, you start telling them, okay, go back, read about free market anarchism, read this book called Human Action, read this book called Jonathan Gullible. So, people start reading it. And once they start reading it, then they understand, okay, yeah, this is a problem. We never saw this problem. We never realized this problem. Like how Frederick Bastiat in his the book called The Law talks about the seen side and the unseen side. So we are quite obsessed with the seen side. We never calculate the cost of the unseen side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you follow it, but it's called Learn Liberty. And there you do follow, awesome YouTube channel. I love it. And one video reminds me of when I think of India, because they talk about a few videos. Like one of them was about sweatshops and how sweatshops help lift people out of poverty. That's one video. That's wonderful. And then another one is talking about how some people will say when they think of capitalism, they think of the rich and the poor, right? And the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, right? People often think about the divide is increasing, right? Whereas what really has happened as a result of technological innovation and prosperity and innovation is that the rich have gotten richer. We have gotten many more luxuries in our lives, but proportionally speaking, the poor have also gotten richer, and probably more so. A rich person, let's say, I don't know, 100 years ago, or maybe let's say 50 years ago, they could have a nice car, right? And then today they can have maybe a nicer car, right? But they still have a car. Whereas the poor, 50 years ago, most people did not have cars, and now, things are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, right? As people, we're getting more productive and more efficient with with the way we produce these goods, and so more and more people are having access to basic luxuries like cars, like air conditioning, like clothes and shoes, just basic stuff, that most people take for granted, and those are the kind of things that has helped to lift the poor out of poverty and to provide them with material comforts that for most of human history, people have not had. So that's what I think when I think of India, is that they're one of the countries that has been helped the most by capitalism. What's your perspective on that?
That's a very interesting case. I would like to cite the example of Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman traveled to India in 1970s, and he made a documentary that why the handloom industry in India is not progressing, it's not competitive, and why it is running in loss in 1970s. That is because from the period of 1950 till 1990, India was a closed economy. We practiced license Raj system where almost everything was regulated, licensed, and all. So due to regulations and licenses, you never become rich, you become poor. Logically, I think regulations, make sense for libertarians, because when anything is controlled, the market provides. So this market is basically the free market, and the free market kills the economy of the government. So Milton Friedman, there's a YouTube documentary as well available online.
What is the name of that documentary?
I think handloom. I think Milton Friedman Handloom India. If you just use these keywords,
okay.
I don't exactly remember the title of the documentary. So in that documentary,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So he talks about how the government is messing up the economy of handlooms, and it ran out of the business because the government didn't introduce technology, and the government was not in favor of technology because technology is a threat to the government. Today we see that the government is very scary of blockchain technology and even cryptocurrencies.
Right.
So that reflects the nature of the government, that it is really scared of technology, because technology makes people to think, it empowers individual, it expands the size of freedom. So and the way technology is shaping our education system as well, like most of the people, some of the people, like in a very gradual way, are trying to do self-learning. So it's a threat to the government, it's a threat to the revenue of the government. That is why they will regulate it, saying that okay, it's not good, technology is not good, people don't have digital access. For example, in India, only 8 to 10% of total population, the total population is around 123 crores. So out of 123 crore, only 8 to 10% have access to internet. So the government says, okay, the 90% do not have access to internet, let us not legalize cryptocurrencies. Blockchain technology is a threat to the poor people. But why are people poor? That is a basic question, a fundamental question we should be asking. People are poor because there is too much of government in the lives of the poor people. So the rich get richer not on their own. The rich get richer only when the government, favors certain kind of industries. So not all the rich people get richer. Only some section of the rich people get richer. So, free market has not been widely understood, and the communists have their own version of freedom of market. Like they say free market is not good because it does not empower people. But if you logically do a postmortem of the history of economics, I think capitalism has lifted many people out of poverty. Capitalism has led to innovation. Innovation has led to competition. Competition has actually, brought down the prices, and it has increased the purchasing power of the people. So I think that's the beauty of capitalism.
Right. Yeah, yeah. There's a meme that that reminds you of that, which is like it says, you see a city, lit up at night with all these different lights, and it says capitalism, the system that has funded every other ism in history.
No, I mean capitalism. I mean I mean it's logically impossible for a capitalist system to coexist with a central banking system.
Right,
I mean,
right,
the
right.
central banking system is not a capitalist system. The
Right.
central banking system is dictatorship of the government
Right.
because they enjoy monopoly on printing money out of thin air.
Yeah.
So when you have a monopoly on money, you're not capitalist. A capitalist believes in voluntary interaction, not in forced interaction.
Yeah. Or the way I like to describe it is the way Murray Rothbard describes it in Anatomy of the State, which is that the productive and the industrious are the ones that are actually contributing to the wealth and resources of the world, and then the state is like the parasite, the tapeworm or the tick that is slowly siphoning away resources, doesn't create anything, doesn't make anything useful. It just siphons away, or we can say steals the nourishment and the productivity from those that are actually doing the work and being industrious, and then of course claims credit for the entire process.
Yeah.
or another way I like to describe it is, you see a parade, right? And then somebody jumps in front of the parade and they claim credit for the entire parade. So that would be the state.
Yeah, only if people were introduced to know what exactly is public choice theory, which emerges in 1980s. I think public choice theory in economics can be a good start for people to understand the economics and the maths of regulations and taxes. We don't have public choice theory in syllabus, but if the market is regulated, then there is a faculty like me who would introduced about what is public choice theory, what is libertarianism, because every student or every learner should know all the sides of the coin, not just one side of the coin and make a fixed opinion. Okay, this is true, this is the reality. I think it's unfair. It's unfair to our civilization, and it's completely illogical.
Yeah. So let me ask you, given that you are an anarcho-capitalist living in India, so I'm very much more familiar with what's going on, central banking in, with the Federal Reserve in the United States. So how is the Indian central bank doing? Is it also? I mean, I assume most central banks around the world are just creating money, massive amounts of currency out of thin air. And so I assume India is on the same path of destroying its currency, right? The rupee is like, what is it, like, I don't know, a couple of hundred rupees or something. Oh no, maybe is it up to 100 rupees per dollar? What's the exchange rate now?
Currently, it's 68 rupees per dollar.
68. Okay, so, sorry.
Yeah. The rupee is depreciating because the government wants to boost exports. So, I mean, you don't have a proper manufacturing policy. Our exports are quite lesser compared to imports. And, there is a general misconception that imports are always bad, exports are good. So I think that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
So coming to central banking system, I would, cite Mark Thornton's research paper here. I think he has written a research paper saying that central banks suffer from apoplecthorismus phobia, which means the central banks don't love deflation. They love inflation because it gives them more access to influence the monetary policy in their own way.
Yeah.
So currently the central bank is actually also suffering from government intervention. Like there is too much of government control and interference in the central banking affairs. So, they have created recently a monetary policy committee having like 5 to 6 people who will take a decision before influencing monetary policy. It is so sad to see that just 5 to 6 people decide almost the monetary policy of India. So the monetary policy of India seems to be quite hawkish. They say they want to fight inflation, but they are fighting the price inflation. They are not fighting the money supply inflation. So, you know, it's like it gives a wrong impression to the government.
Right.
So, I mean, I mean, it's and most of the mainstream is writing editorials, blogs. I don't know how many people read it. They write on price inflation, so the government should interfere. The should is a very dangerous word in this banking system. The government should do this. The government should do that.
Right.
And once the government does it, then they are like, government should not do this. Government should not do this. So what basically you're looking for? I mean, it's completely. It's like a system of intellectual masturbation, you know, where they just satisfy their egoistic arrogance. You know?
Yeah. And another thing that I find fascinating with India is that Indian culture already understands the importance of precious metals, right? Especially gold, and so I remember reading about India how you know, it's very difficult for financial institutions in India to convince the Indian people to save their wealth in financial instruments like, I guess, stocks or bonds, you know, things like that. And most Indian people prefer to save their wealth in precious metals like gold. And also I remember reading how let me know if this is true now, but I remember reading how they were cracking down on imports of precious metals of gold, and so people were trying to smuggle in gold, and there was a lot of cases of people like they found huge duffel bags full of gold bars and gold coins because people just try to smuggle it in as much as they can. Is this still the case now?
I think it's not so popular as you're talking about. I think there have been few incidents in this regard.
Yeah.
Coming to the point on culture, I think Indian culture is quite, multilingual. It's like there is no one uniform culture.
Right.
In India, with every 1 mile or 5 miles, you will see change in food, change in taste of the water, change in the culture.
Good point.
So it's a land of many religions. It's a land of many cultures.
Right.
So and in all these cultures, the common feature is that gold is not just used as a commodity or as an investment. It is like a cultural product for them. It's like, we import too much of gold because we believe that gold is a sign of prosperity. So every household have some amount of gold where they use it for the conspicuous display during marriage events or some other reasons. So we don't invest in gold. We don't use it as a medium of exchange. It's even illegal to use it as a medium of exchange because it would almost lead to barter exchanges. So we use it as as a sign of prosperity, as a sign of your social status. So smuggling is due to happen. It's because of regulation of gold phenomena.
Right.
So you can't do anything about it. If you regulate something, people will always demand that more.
Right.
That's
exactly.
That's how it functions. That's how the nature of humans are.
Yeah, exactly. Once the state prohibits something, that increases the value of it and the price, and then you get black markets, and you get gangsters who are willing to risk danger in providing that product to people who want it, right? And people who are willing to pay for it. So please get into some of your videos from your YouTube channel. The taxation is theft, the graffiti one. So why did you decide to do that one?
I think inspired from Ron Paul, taxation is theft. I think there is no market for taxation is theft kind of movement in India. I think, it needs to be introduced. I mean, most of the people are pissed at taxes. We pay taxes on each and everything. I mean, we even pay inheritance tax on our deathbed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame that, we have more taxes than friends in our life. So, for each and everything.
Right.
So we have taxes for each and everything. I mean, it's wrong. I mean, sometimes I feel that it's wrong to exist here. I mean, we pay so many taxes. Even if I were to suicide, the government will say, okay, pay the suicidal tax because we need revenue. What about poor people? I mean,
right.
paying tax taxes is completely, different from tax spending. Just because people pay taxes does not mean, the government would spend according to your whims and wishes.
Right.
So there is no incentive to be accountable in looking after tax spending. So the government spends recklessly, despite of paying so many taxes. India's fiscal policy is in deficit. Our current account is in deficit. I mean, where is our tax money going? So I just thought to make a video on this because I thought, nobody likes to read nowadays. People just like to watch videos. This is a Facebook generation, So,
Yeah.
so gone are the days of people going to the library and reading about human action. Now they just want in 2 minutes human action summary. We don't have time because we invest our time in paying taxes to the government. So, I just thought to make a video on taxation and theft and talk about that how it is a legal robbery. So I use deontological arguments, like especially how it is moral and immoral to pay voluntarily and to pay by force. So it's just a 3.5-minute video, and I think as of now I have 5,000 views on YouTube and 30,000 views on Facebook. So overall 35,000 views. Okay, fine. Out of 35,000 views, even if 10 people make up their mind, okay, yeah, taxation is theft, I think I've done my business. So this 10 people are threat to the government. If this 10 people, listen to the principles, so it's likely that they are not going to obey with the structure of tax. Even on Twitter, I tag Income Tax India handle. See, okay, this is taxation is in India. I mean, taxation is theft in India. Go do the heck what you want to do it. So I did this video adventurously last year with two of my friends who supported me in buying a graffiti and shooting the video. So it was quite enjoyable, and we shot at night. So, it needs to be shot at night. So we even saw, cops, at night, trying to check out what's happening in the area. So we had two, police jeep, halting at our destination and asking what are you doing. I said, I'm a tourist. I'm new to the city. I'm just trying to capture pictures. They didn't see me doing graffiti. Otherwise, I would be arrested. But it would make sense if I'm arrested, because in India, most of the careers come from jail. Either you become a politician, either you become a mafia leader, either you become a popular person. So jail is like another educational qualification. So if I'm arrested, taxation is theft in India, it becomes popular here. Why I'm trying to talk about in that way is because you need to popularize the movement so that people start having conversations. We don't have conversations on tax. People are angry, people are frustrated, but they are not finding a proper argument, a proper channel through which they can express, that taxation, we can't have so many taxes. Like, I'll give you some data. On coming to direct tax, around 2 to 3% of India's population pays income tax. The rest, everybody pays GST, that is goods and service tax, which is nothing but indirect tax or consumption tax. So consumption tax is more, regressive, because it also kills the purchasing power of the poor people, because the rich and the poor pay the same amount of consumption tax. I mean, when it comes to the tax rates. So the rich, those who are smart enough, especially the political class, they evade paying taxes. And you can see that there has been a rise of, the black money in the Swiss bank. There has been 50% increase in wealth in Swiss bank account. Now, why is there an increase? That's because tax is not a good incentive. So we can have discussions, we can have solutions, like we can have tax choice, we can have a tax consent, so we should pay taxes only for those services, because you can't suddenly create an anarcho-capitalist society or saying that, okay, we will just pay for the private services that we consume. Because, the economic structure, the cultural condition of India is completely different from US. I think the good thing about US, no doubt, is that you have a history of liberty. You have a history of libertarianism. India does not have any history of libertarianism. Yeah. So it's really challenging to introduce taxation is theft on mainstream level. So let's see, how far my video goes, how far my understanding is comprehensible in the people. So I think it's a wait and watch situation.
Yeah. I mean, you're right that India does not have a history like the United States has, I guess Murray Rothbard and Hayek and Mises, and you're right that I guess we're very grateful to have those people, and India. So you're basically the I guess you're like the Mises of India. You know, you're the first one starting from ground. Like how many other voluntarists and anarcho-capitalists have you met that were already already understood the philosophy? Have you met any or many?
Yeah. I mean, there's a Facebook group, Indian Libertarian Discussion Group, where there are around 3 to 4,000 of libertarians. I don't know whether they are really libertarians or they are learners, but it seems that there are libertarians. But the portion is quite less compared to the population of statists here. Right. So I can't I agree with you. I mean, I love your compliment. I may be a missus of India, but I think even before me, say 60, 70 years back, we had B.R. Shinoy in 1950s and 60s, who has been to West and East Germany, and I think his work is not so popular. He himself is not popular because there is no such introduction, or there is no statue of him, elsewhere in the public sphere.
Right.
So B.R. Shinoy was a great economist who talks about, liberty, minimum size of the government. Then there is another jurist, Nana Palkhiwala. Even C. Raja Gopalachari, he has been a politician in 1950s who believed in free markets. So, there have been, but they are not so popular compared to other politicians. So I would credit them as misses of India, the real architect of free market thinking in India. I think they are, because they are the ones who got the idea of free market, because we were under colonial rule. So, after British leaving India in 1947, we were directly introduced to socialism. So, we never had a free market school of thought, and there are few other folks as well. Like there's one friend whom, like Madhusudan Raj, is in Baroda University, who is also a libertarian. There's a Jayant Bharadwaj who also talks about liberty. He's based in US. He comes to India often. So yeah, Amit Verma, Kumar Anand, I think these are the guys whom I know personally are well-established libertarians. We do have libertarian think tanks here. Like the first is Center for Civil Society. I'm not sure about their political leanings, but they have produced literature on free market. There is Liberty India, coordinated by Barun Mitra, who is also a popular libertarian, but the popularity is only in our circles. I mean, not at a mainstream level. These are the few established folks, you can say the old ones who are, who are the pioneers of libertarianism movement here.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle for us, and we do have, a lot of, a good amount of literature and prominent figures, but it must be even more difficult for you guys because, you don't necessarily have all that ground, that foundation. So yeah, I really credit you guys a lot for doing this work, because it's I think spreading voluntarism and free markets and capitalism is really a thankless job. Like how many people do you meet that say, Jaimine, thank you very much for spreading voluntarism and anarcho-capitalism. I really appreciate. How many people do you meet that appreciate your work? It's most of the time, you just hate the poor. You just want people to suffer. You want disorder. Like what kind of person wants to do that? I mean, it almost seems like we're like, what do you call that? What is that? Masochists, right? We enjoy pain on ourselves. Right? Does it seem like that?
Selfishness is evil, greedy, you are greedy, you are evil, you'll burn in hell.
Right. Like, who wants to do this work? And most of us don't even get paid for doing this work. So on top of all that criticism, you don't even get paid for it. So I just want to say thank you very much for doing this. You're doing wonderful work, and we don't get to hear enough praise for what we do. And I think it takes a special type of character, a strength of character, integrity, dignity in oneself, right? Confidence in the things that you believe in your principles, to continue every day to talk about this and try to spread it that much farther. And I think, it's a very unique thing that you have to. It's a very unique personality that has to be you know, that has to be that way. It has to enjoy that kind of discomfort.
But anyway, I mean, it's better to, live your life the way you wish to. I mean, it does not make sense to live your whole life by kneeling down on your knees. I mean, it's modern slavery.
Yeah.
So I think anarchism liberates people.
Yeah.
I mean, people should research before having any loud opinions.
Yeah.
And last but not least, taxation.
Yes.
Theft. It will always be a theft.
Exactly. So before we go, mention your other video, your Man in the Street social experiment, and talk about what you did in the video and what it's about and why you did it.
It's like my mind is quite creative. If you look at my YouTube channel, there is different videos of different theme. There is no continuous flow that I follow a particular structure of doing this video. So there is a video on taxation is theft. There is a video in which I'm debunking the concept called nationalism, which is also very seditious and controversial in nature. Then there is one, Vox Pop, trying to understand the popular opinion. So a Vox Pop on Marxism versus libertarianism. So I'm introducing this words directly. So at least, before watching the video, people get a rough idea what exactly I'm doing. So in that video, I conducted a social experiment in which I'm trying to understand popularity of Karl Marx, popularity of Marxism ideology, and trying to compare with how many of them have been introduced to about right-wing thinkers like Ludwig von Mises, Friedrich Hayek, B.R. Shinoy, Ayn Rand. So just wanted to do a social experiment that, whether people are really introduced to such ideas. So shockingly, and I was expecting the outcome because I am quite familiar that people love Marxism because they have been taught about Marxism, and they believe that only Marxism has a monopoly on talking about poverty, but that is not the case. I think Marxism, has just created the system of Gulag where you are just killed for voicing your opinion. So I conducted this video with different age groups. Like I asked, the taxi unions, I asked students, I asked the general audience on whom do they know, So only one person could make out of so many people. Like I interviewed around 7 to 8 people. So out of which only one person could say that, okay, I know she's Ayn Rand because I've read a novel called Fountainhead or Anthem.
Wow.
The rest were like, okay, he's Karl Marx, he's Karl Marx, he's Karl Marx.
You said 78 people you interviewed?
Yeah, 7 to 8 people.
Oh, 7 to 8. Oh, sorry.
78.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, like every year I encounter with 300 to 400 students in my academic capacity per year. In my personal, academic capacity, I encountered 300 to 400 people anyway.
Yeah.
So, most of them are socialists by default. So anyway, it's an opportunity for me to economically make them think. So coming to this video, the outcome was like almost expected. I didn't, try to interfere with the outcome or something as such. And it was just a 5 to 6, 7 minutes video where I'm even entering a classroom asking a bunch of students that, okay, guys, whom do you know this? So even over there, Mao Zedong is popular. So this social experiment was to highlight that how are we doing wrong with education? How are we doing wrong with certain economic thinking? So that is the hidden conclusion of this video. And I think, somewhere I think libertarians need to organize themselves and, work towards this direction where we are depopularizing Karl Marx because the idea of communism is very dangerous. It has killed more people than people have killed people. So, somewhere we need to know the line.
Yes, it's really amazing how people intuitively understand the horrors of Nazism and hate Hitler, rightly so, right? However, they have a special place, a special warm place in their heart for communism and socialism, which comparatively has killed many, many more people and enslaved many people, and I mean is currently enslaving actually even today. And it's really amazing how it's like a blind spot, in their mind that they have for these regimes, and I guess you can really credit that due, to the government schooling, right? That they believe that the state is necessary for the smooth functioning of society. Without the state, we would just be working 18-hour days, no bathroom breaks, no vacations. Infants and toddlers would be working. we would be eating poison sandwiches, and appliances would explode in our face. If without the minimum wage, without all these OSHA regulations, without all this stuff, thank goodness for the state to bring order to our lives. like this is really how people think, right? And so it's a very difficult task to convince people otherwise, because they're so emotionally wrapped up in it. All their lives, their parents and then teachers, right, have been saying this over and over and over again. And so how do you work to disentangle all of that confusion? It's very difficult, right?
True, it's quite challenging, and even your profession could be at stake if you are being quite bold and vocal here.
Right.
If you take freedom of speech ranking of India, we rank at 138 out of 190 countries. So by this, you can make out the judgment that in India, there is no freedom of speech here. So we have to be extra careful on what I'm saying, why I'm saying it,
Right.
because people are quite emotional. For them, feelings are more important than facts.
Right.
So we also need to be, I think somewhere the libertarians need to emotionalize the content. We are quite intellectual in our way, so that does not incentivize people to listen to us. So somewhere we need to create case studies or stories in a very simple or a layman words, where people are able to identify themselves with the problem. I think that could be a very beautiful strategy in which we can popularize our idea, our school of thought. In fact, libertarians are more pro-poor than communists, because we believe in freedom and we want all the people of every strata to be free.
Right.
So I think this is where we can use it as a USP, because that is in our nature. Otherwise, the communists are going to transform economics into a dismal science or a rocket science. Before we fail our humanity, somewhere we need to introspect quickly and organize beautiful strategies to track down on them.
Yeah, and talking about how you say libertarians and anarcho-capitalists are the most pro-poor, or I mean, we advocate for the poor and to help them out of poverty. It's that the primary reason that people stay in poverty is, I think, a combination of a few things. One of which is the welfare state, right? People get paid to not work, to be idle. And in addition to taxation, all the various taxes keeping people in poverty, just constantly stealing money, like 50% probably in total, combined income tax with everything else, 50, maybe 60%, just complete outright theft. And how much of that is actually keeping people in poverty, and yet people tend to think that the state is necessary or else we'd all suffer.
So I think freedom is necessary. I mean, freedom comes, it's a God's gift. It's a nature's gift that we need to naturally and rationally embrace it. So when you have, for example, when our families or when our parents are conservative, or when they are more like a nanny state, the kids are liable to make more mistakes. So when the parents are more thinking like a libertarian or more flexible in their way of living, so kids do make mistakes, but they learn from their mistakes. So similarly, using this as a parameter to understand the ideology of the state and anarchism, I think we are all gonna make mistakes, but in the scope of not repeating the same mistake is higher in anarchism than in statism. So this is where I think we make sense.
Yeah. Yes, definitely agree. Well, wonderful conversation, Jaimine. Thank you very much for talking to me, for joining me. It's really excellent, very informative. So before we go, just can you please reiterate your ways that people can contact you if they want to follow you and your work?
Yeah, I think if you want to follow satire, follow me on Facebook. If you want to have decent conversations, follow me on Twitter. stay subscribed to my YouTube because there is more seditious and blasphemous videos coming in.
Wonderful. And one thing I ask of all my guests before we go, I'm sure you know this, that if you watch some of my other videos, what is your favorite quote of all time?
I think I would cite the George Orwell, who was actually a socialist, but somewhere I think his leanings were towards libertarian.
Right.
So his quote could literally help his own followers, socialist followers, to relearn or introspect their policies. The quote would be, "All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others."
Yeah. Animal Farm. I think it's required.
Yeah.
You know what's strange? I think it's Animal Farm or 1984. I forget which, or maybe both, is required reading in government school, which is very ironic.
True. I mean, the communist and the socialist should relearn George Orwell because they say George Orwell was a socialist. How can you quote him?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, you don't have a monopoly on George Orwell. George Orwell, he indirectly hinted at his own ideological commitment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think looking at such quotes and looking at the way he has written books on Animal Farm in 1984, I think he was a kind of an individualist who believed in freedom. Anyway.
Yeah, I definitely. I also think so, as well. And Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, also along a similar vein, as George Orwell too. Very forward-thinking authors. So, yeah, wonderful conversation, Jaimine. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. So please, everyone, check him out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I think he's producing wonderful content from India, and he gives a fresh perspective on these principles that I think so many people need help in understanding. And the more people around the world that embrace this philosophy, the better. More prosperous we'll be as human beings. And it's a pleasure to me to see when I see groups like I see groups on Facebook like Voluntaryist in Pakistan, Voluntaryist in India, Voluntaryist in Russia, like all over the world. These groups are popping up, and it just makes me so happy to see that slowly the seeds are being planted. And actually, I don't know if you heard the interview that I did with I think it's translated. It's from Nelson Chartrand. He's an anarcho-capitalist from Cuba, from communist Cuba. That was an amazing interview.
That's very nice.
Say again?
Yeah, that's great, interesting. I need to check them out. And our brothers in US need not feel alone. I mean, the seeds of voluntarism and libertarianism is gradually spreading across the countries. So libertarianism is just not in US. It's gradually it's an infancy stage in Asia and Africa.
Oh, it's beautiful, and that's a major reason why I have so much hope for a bright future. I'm extremely optimistic when it comes to the future. And I'm just helping to spread it that much farther and that much faster before I die. That's my only goal.
Awesome.
Just encourage it that much more. So yeah, great conversation, Jaimine. Thank you very much for joining me. So this is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network on solpodcast.org and theconsciousresistance.com. Wishing all of you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see more of it, please feel free to donate and help me interview other fascinating people. You can do so through Patreon. That's patreon.com/peacefulanarchism to help me out. $1 a show is all I ask. If you feel so inclined to donate more, please feel free. It will only assist me in spreading the message of freedom and voluntarism that much farther and that much more efficiently. You can also donate to my Bitcoin. My Bitcoin address is in the description to my videos, as well as on my website, peacefulanarchism.com. And while you're on my site, there's a donate button to donate through PayPal. If you prefer to donate through PayPal, you can do so with that. But Patreon is a little bit easier for content creators, as you can set up a recurring donation if you so desire. Also, while you're on my website, peacefulanarchism.com, please feel free to sign up, enter your email address, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll receive updates every time I post something, a video or an interview. I do not send out any spam. Or you can also follow me on Facebook under facebook.com/peacefulanarchism or facebook.com/Danilo Cuellar 3, I believe. Danilo Cuellar 3. So either one of those methods, if you are able to donate, I would be most appreciative. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a magnificent day.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.